Let me reveal a secret. Narcissists are not as strong as they like to believe about themselves. They are very weak individuals instead, who depend on others for their life force, also called as supply. Take that away from them, and you have an incompetent, weak, fragile being with no identity of its own. Want to know more about their weaknesses? Stay with me as I expose a narcissist's true self. Hi, I am Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. In this episode, I will expose 4 weaknesses all narcissists have. Before I talk about number 1, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, because as I always say, your subscription to the channel helps in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. Number 1, they cannot self-analyze. A narcissist scrutinizes your actions, words, and behavior with a fine-tooth comb. They love spotting your mistakes, pointing out your flaws, and criticizing your decisions. Yet, when it comes to their own behavior, they never see anything wrong. They are absolutely flawless in their own eyes. You are often in the spotlight, but not in a good way. They keep the focus on you, constantly observing and judging your every move to avoid looking within. They are oblivious to their faults, not because they do not have any, but because they choose not to see them. You know that already. This self-analysis blind spot becomes their biggest weakness over time. It hinders their capacity for personal growth and meaningful relation. Despite their apparent confidence and superiority, their refusal to introspect keeps them stuck in a doom loop. They are stuck in a cycle of deflecting and avoiding self-scrutiny, which prevents them from learning from their mistakes or acknowledging their wrongdoings, and they always end at square one. For these reasons, I say their life is their own karma. Their incapability to look within locks them in a state of perpetual self-deception, and they end up miserable no matter what direction they take in their life. Number 2, they hate humility and humbleness. Narcissists have a significant aversion to humility. As you know, they see themselves as superior beings, and the idea of humility clashes with their inflated self-perception. Embracing humility means acknowledging one's own limitations, flaws, and mistakes, which is something they never do. Whenever an opportunity to learn and become better presents itself before them, they run away from it like a plague. Their grandiosity tells them they are better than that, or they can't be that dumb to not know everything about everything already. They will twist facts, deny reality, and even rewrite history to maintain this sense of entitlement. They will make you believe that they're always right, and if something doesn't go their way, it is never their fault. Their fake sense of self-importance makes them rigid, and they never see life beyond the construct they have created for it and for those they encounter. They firmly yet delusionally believe that their distorted map of the territory is how the territory actually looks like. Life never humbles them because they have zero malleability. Life presents them with many chances to bend, with many chances to change and reform, but they don't. Instead, they ultimately break when they can no longer maintain their facade. And when they reach that break point, they collapse. Number 3, they are extremely unforgiving. Narcissists rarely, if ever, truly forgive perceived slights or offenses. They tend to hold on to grudges, nursing their wounds for decades. They do not just get mad, they often plot revenge. The idea of eye for an eye is their preferred modus operandi. They aim to reciprocate the pain they believe they have received, intending to make you feel the same level of hurt they perceive they have endured. It is not just about restoring their sense of justice, it is about re-establishing their dominance and control. Opposite to its intended effect, their rigid rage keeps them locked in cycles of resentment and revenge, preventing them from moving forward and growing. Their inability to forgive and let go keeps their past alive and makes them a prisoner of it. But they blame you for bringing up the past. Have you experienced that as well? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, what your experiences have been. Their plotting of revenge consumes their thoughts and energy, leaving little room for introspection. All their energy is wasted on that, on focusing on others. They have none to use for themselves in the right way, which is also one of the reasons why they do not change. Number 4, and the last one. They are the biggest victims. Despite being the instigators of conflict and the perpetrators of harm, narcissists have a remarkable ability to twist narratives in such a way that they always appear as the wrong party or the biggest victim in the world. My mother is exactly like this. She is the biggest martyr, the sacrificer, and the victim of her circumstances. Everything and everyone somehow ends up attacking or punishing her. Yet she is always right. She is a saint and cannot do anything wrong. This narcissistic self-victimization serves multiple purposes. It allows them to evade responsibility, elicit sympathy, and manipulate others. They draw you into their distorted reality by manipulating your emotions and perceptions. You find yourself feeling sorry for them, supporting them, or even blaming yourself or others for their plight. I did that all my life, and I cannot tell you how draining and devastating it was. It was as if someone was draining my vitality all the damn time. Talking about their victimhood again, in my opinion, it is their punishment, even though they punish others through it. Why their punishment? Because they convince themselves they are disempowered and can do nothing about the situation. They project their incompetency on the world they believe to be so unfair. If you perceive everything as unchangeable, how would you change? How could you change? You will remain the same, won't you? And then you will call it your fate or destiny. That is exactly what a covert vulnerable narcissist does. They fuel their victimhood through their own actions and then blame you for doing it. In conclusion, a narcissist is not as omnipotent as they see themselves. They create this false image, but to maintain that image, they need you more than they need anything else. They depend on others for supply, for the maintenance of this false self. But the reality is, it is a false self, and by its own nature, it is made to perish without supply. It will perish that way. And their strength that they think they have does not exist in reality. It is just a distorted perception, an exaggeration, and nothing else. That was it for today's episode. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, let me know in the comments, and I'll talk with you in the next one. Until then, let the healing begin and continue.